Hello and welcome to RadioTimes.com's Oscar predictions for 2023. I am Patrick Cremona, a writer at RadioTimes.com.
And I'm David Craig, writer at RadioTimes.com.
And we're going to be discussing what we think should win and will win the major categories at this Sunday's Oscars ceremony. There's been a lot of build-up to the ceremony, as there always is. We've seen all the kind of big precursor awards handed out, and there's been a few surprises along the way. But I think we should start with what we think should win Best Picture, which is the last award given out on the night, but the first one we're predicting. What would you like to see win, David, this award?
Well, for me, Oscar season this year is all about everything everywhere all at once. I've seen the movie 3 times at this point, and every single time I've had an absolute blast. I just think it's so inventive, so creative, incredible performances, some really lovely messages and themes. And I think it's so different to what you typically see get acknowledged at these kinds of awards ceremonies. You know, it's no secret that sci-fi and fantasy is often just kind of completely shut out. So I think the fact that it's even on the table is wonderful, but I'd love to actually see it take the win. I think it deserves it. But what do you think, Patrick?
Yeah, well, on Everything Everywhere All at Once, I actually think that it will win, and I think for some of the reasons that you outlined, that it is so different from the kind of films we normally see up, but I think that's actually been being embraced by Oscar voters. I think in recent years, there's maybe been a feeling that the kind of films that once wouldn't have been seen as contenders have started to win. I think you need to go back to 2018 when Shape of Water won. That wouldn't have normally have been thought of as an Oscar contender. So I think what is considered something that might win has changed a little bit. So I think this could be Everything Everywhere All at Once's time. I think probably its biggest competition is All Quiet on the Western Front, which we know won big at the BAFTAs.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I don't have many criticisms to make of the film, but I think it would be a more uninspiring choice. I think the film, it's a kind of World War I epic, and that is a kind of film that you think of as a traditional Oscar winner. And I just don't think there would be as much excitement about that kind of thing winning. So I think, I wouldn't be surprised if it does end up getting the awards. But I think with you, I think Everything Everywhere All at Once would be a more exciting pick. I also want to briefly mention The Fabelmans, Steven Spielberg's kind of semi-autobiographical drama, which it's kind of maybe a culmination of all the films that he's made in the past, where it's a very introspective piece where he really kind of explores his origins in getting into film, but also kind of how it kind of looks back on his childhood through the lens of him being an aspiring filmmaker. And, maybe it's a bit rich for me to say that All Quiet on the Western Front would be an uninspiring, kind of predictable Oscar winner, because this is also the kind of film that I think traditionally you'd expect Oscar voters to go wild for. But I just loved it. I thought it was incredibly moving. I thought it was incredibly kind of beautifully shot, and it's got one of the best final scenes that I can remember seeing for a long time, which I won't give away here. So if something else other than Everything Everywhere All at Once was to win, I would be very happy with The Fabelmans. But like you, I think Everything Everywhere All at Once would be a good pick.
Well, it's interesting, The Fabelmans, because it has kind of been this sort of underdog in a way. It's complete non-entity at the box office, kind of not picking up huge numbers of awards over the awards season. But, it does have Steven Spielberg as its kind of trump card, and obviously one of the most respected directors in Hollywood. So I wouldn't be surprised if it did sneak up and take something.
Especially with the preferential kind of voting method that's used for the Oscars. Sometimes it is something that maybe isn't everyone's first pick, but is a lot of people's second or third pick that ends up kind of getting the award. So with that in mind, it's just something worth considering. In terms of the acting categories, let's start with Best Actor. I think for a long time, the narrative was kind of revolving around Brendan Fraser, who is this big comeback performance in The Whale. And, it's a good performance. I think the film has had quite a divisive reaction. I wasn't a huge fan myself. Would you like Brendan Fraser to win, or is there someone else you think you'd like to come and take that from him?
I've got to say, I am firmly off the Brendan Fraser hype wagon at this point. I think at the end of the day, The Whale has done what it was intended to do. It has given him this amazing comeback. He is kind of on the lips of every casting agent in Hollywood in a way that he hasn't been for over a decade. So mission accomplished, job done. I don't think he necessarily needs to win the Oscar to kind of finish off this sort of trajectory that he's on. I would actually love to see Austin Butler take it. I saw Elvis. After hearing some kind of mixed reviews about it, I wasn't really sure what to expect. But I saw it and I thought it was actually just a fantastic time. You know, it is very vivid. It's very kind of hyper and stylized. But at the center of it, you have this actually very grounded portrayal of Elvis Presley. You know, and he just captures the spirit of the man so well, and the fact that he did a lot of the vocals and the dancing himself, I mean, it was just an incredible turn, and the fact as well that he was a relative unknown before getting this role, I think just makes it even more impressive. So I think Austin Butler should take it.
Yeah, I think even just for sheer commitment, he's talked about how he's still kind of speaking in the Elvis voice now, several months after shooting. So if that doesn't deserve an Oscar, that kind of commitment, I don't know what does. I also want to just briefly mention Paul Mescal, who I don't think will win the Oscar. I don't really think he's got much of a chance, but I think his performance in After Sun was undoubtedly one of the best of last year. A very understated, very kind of, you know, it's quite a difficult role that he's playing. He's playing a kind of almost unknowable character. We're not entirely sure what's going on with his psyche, and I think he just played that beautifully. I think getting a nomination for him, though, that was the kind of really impressive achievement. I just don't think it's a kind of performance that Oscar voters will eventually reward the big prize, but I think, yeah, it would be amazing to see him win, even if it is unlikely. In the Best Actress category, this is a little bit, maybe not wide open, but I think there's definitely a few different contenders still at this point. Who do you want to see take that prize?
Again, well, you know, having just put my support behind Everything Everywhere All at Once, I'm going to have to say again, Michelle Yeoh. I just thought she was so incredible in the movie, and the movie really requires her to do so much in terms of range. You know, there are some very kind of dramatic emotional scenes, there's a lot of kind of physical comedy, there's a lot of kind of action sequences as well, and she just tries her hand at everything and just nails it all, you know? So, and again, I just think it's the kind of performance that doesn't get acknowledged enough at these ceremonies, and it was just so endlessly entertaining. So that's who I'm backing, but what about you?
Yeah, I certainly wouldn't complain at a Michelle Yeoh victory. I got to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if it goes to Cate Blanchett for Tar. Again, I think that would be a deserving win. She has won a couple of Oscars in the past, so it maybe won't be quite as exciting a win, but I think that is an incredible performance. Another very complex character, Lydia Tarr, who has a really interesting trajectory in the film, and I think at every stage of that, you know exactly what kind of Cate Blanchett is doing. I think it's an incredible performance. I actually think the one that ideally would have won Best Actress this year hasn't even been nominated, which is Danielle Deadwyler for Till. I think her performance in that film is incredible, undoubtedly the best I saw last year, and I think in particular there's moments in the kind of court case scenes towards the end of that film where the camera is just held kind of close up on her face, and just the kind of sheer emotion that she can telegraph with, you know, just the, like, very kind of subtle movements was just so moving. I think it's a shame that she didn't get nominated. I think she should have done. I think there's a lot of talk about maybe why she didn't. So yeah, I think she should win. But of the nominees, I think it's probably between Cate Blanchett and Michelle Yeoh. And yeah, we'll have to see. So on to Best Supporting Actor now. There's another star of Everything Everywhere All at Once nominated here. David, are you going to throw your weight behind Ke Huy Quan?
Well, I think it's hard not to, given the sort of incredible story behind his journey this awards season. You know, obviously he's spoken a lot about how he basically just left acting for decades because he just felt there wasn't any roles for him, he wasn't getting any recognition. And the fact that he's kind of come back with this tour de force performance, I mean, not only is it compelling in the movie, but it's compelling, you know, off screen as well in the real world. So certainly I would be very, very happy to see him take it. And I think he is probably my top contender. But that being said, I think very close behind are the nominees from The Banshees of Inisherin. I believe Brendan Gleeson and Barry Cohen. I think both of them were great. I think I would give it to Barry as a second choice because I just thought he was so kind of endearing in that movie, such like a lovable weirdo he was playing, and I just thought he was a scene stealer.
Yeah, he's kind of played a vast array of, as you say, lovable weirdos in his career. Not always lovable, but certainly weird. And yeah, I think he does that role very well in that he gets the comedy across. I think he probably is the funniest character in the film. But he also actually has some of the most tragic moments of the film as well. And there's one particular line delivery in the film after he's kind of, I suppose, proposed in a sense to Kerry Condon's character, which he just delivers that line, and it could have been kind of flippant, but the way he says it is just it's heartbreaking. And I think for that line alone, I think he would be a deserving winner. I think the problem we have with Banshees is, as you say, there's two guys up for this, and I think there could end up being a split vote there. I think Brendan Gleeson is incredible as well. I think maybe slightly less complex role than Barry Keoghan, but it's still, yeah, I still think he was excellent in it. He's kind of, on the one hand, a kind of curmudgeonly kind of like, but there is, there's something deeper going on there as well, and I think he does that very well. So yeah, I think Barry Keoghan, who won the BAFTA, would be a great shout here. But again, Ke-Huy Quan, I think, is the one who's going to end up taking the award. As you say, Oscar voters love a narrative, and it's a good narrative. I think a deserving narrative. So I think, it would be lovely for him to take that prize. Which brings us to Best Supporting Actress, which I think is probably the most wide open of all the categories. The different precursor award ceremonies keep bringing up different winners. Kerry Condon won at the BAFTAs. Jamie Lee Curtis has won awards, and also Angela Bassett won the Golden Globe as well. So, do you think it'll be one of those three that takes this award, or maybe one of the other nominees?
I would like to see Angela Bassett take it, I think. She's a veteran actor. She's been putting in incredible performances for decades. And her performance in Black Panther Wakanda Forever was it was one of those performances that like elevates the genre, because there is a certain amount of kind of snobbery about comic book movies. And to a certain extent, it's not unwarranted. It is kind of popcorn fare. But I felt like her performance in that movie was genuinely powerful. And I think it meant a lot because obviously Chadwick Boseman did pass away between the first and second movie, and the cast and crew did love him very much. And so, there was a real kind of extra emotion. I mean, it wasn't an entirely fictional story in that sense, And so I just thought Angela Bassett did a fantastic job. Of course, my Everything Everywhere All at Once nominees, I've got to shout them out, Jamie Lee Curtis and Stephanie Sue. Both of them fantastic. I think I would lean towards giving it to Stephanie because her performance was just so outlandish and unlike anything I've ever seen before. But actually, Angela Bassett, as I say, she's a veteran of the industry, and I think that she kind of deserves this recognition. So I would go for her.
Yeah, and I think that, as we said before, with Banshees in the Best Supporting Actor category, the fact that there are two different actors up in this category from Everything Ever All at Once could lead to that split vote again. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Angela Bassett does do the thing and win the award. But I think for me, I also think Kerry Condon's got a brilliant shout. I think her performance in Banshees is really grounded. She's kind of, again, quite a tragic figure in a sense that she kind of, I suppose, maybe kind of wants to escape this island life that she's on, but has a real affection for her brother, and really kind of struggling to kind of support him, I think, for what is a difficult time for him. And I think it's a very kind of intelligent and kind of understated performance from her, which is, I think, kind of in some ways the centre of the film. Like, she's just kind of almost a straight woman in a way in that film, and I think she does a really good job of holding it all together. Again, wide open category. I think Angela Bassett probably will win. I think that's my prediction, but I would love to see Kerry Condon win. What do you think? Let us know in the comments below what you would like to see win the various awards, and look out for all our coverage of the Oscars on radiotimes.com.
See you next time.